Hello everyone and welcome back to another new album video. We are now on week 17 and this week we're taking a look at the newly released The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. First released April 19th, 2024. Some notable tracks off this album include Down Bad, But Daddy I Love Him, Peter, and The Black Dog. So this was released just a few days ago and I listened to it when it was released, and then 2 hours later, like because it was released at like 12 o'clock Eastern, so 10 p.m. here. Listened to it, and then about 2 hours after that, at midnight, 2 a.m. in New York, or where it was released from, she released the Anthology, which is a completely different half of the album. Like basically, it's a double album. So for this video, I'm talking about both halves of the album. So both Peter and the Black Dog are actually on the what's called the Anthology, which is the second album. So listen to it Thursday night. Immediately didn't love the album. I listened to it again today and liked it a little bit more, but I still totally did not love the album. I think that there's only like a couple tracks that I actually like really maybe even enjoy. The production is kind of all over the place, at least on the first half. I have some notes here about it, but just getting it out of the way that I did not like outright just love the album. It might be my least favorite album from her currently. Like I said, I've only listened to it twice, so I probably need to, like maybe like let it grow on me a little bit, come back to it, and I'll see if I like it more. But as of right now, didn't love it. But I have some notes here about the album, and we'll just discuss it and let you know what I think of it here. So, like we said, released April 19th, 2024. She initially announced this at the 2024 Grammy Awards back in February, like early February. She had won the award for, let me see, Best Pop Vocal Album for Midnights. And then did this announcement where she was announced the Tortured Poets Department. Don't love the title. I like the titles of like all her other albums, which are just like a single word. This one is kind of almost like a mouthful to say. So like, if I accidentally call it the Tortured Poets Society, like just forgive me for that. But Tortured Poets Department was announced at the Grammys. As we said, Anthology, which featured artwork with you probably have seen it on her site where it was like the Black Dog edition where she's doing the whatever that pose is. That's the artwork for the second half. She said this was a quote lifeline album and one that she quote really needed to make. Going back and listening to it and kind of like cross-referencing what people are like talking about, like the meanings behind the songs, a lot of it apparently deals with her whole relationship with Matt Healy from the 1975, who I've never listened to any of his music. I've never listened to anything from the 1975. I don't really have the desire to do that. But apparently a lot of the songs on this album relate to that, like that relationship, that very short relationship apparently. I don't really particularly care about all the kind of like the relationships and all that, but having the kind of one thing that took me out of the album was constantly having to like look up stuff about basically like about him or the situation and all that. It kind of took me out of the music because I really wasn't able to add my own spin to the songs. It was just like that's one thing about her songwriting is it's so on a personal level to her that it's kind of hard to look at it through like any other perspective. That might be, I don't really know, that's kind of like a fair criticism or not, but it kind of makes some of her stuff a little bit harder to listen to, at least on this album. Some of the stuff where it's like I think my favorite albums from her are Red, 1989, and like Folklore. If I had to do three, I would add Evermore in there if I had to do four. But even some of those ones, they actually are a little, I think, easier to relate to. I just feel that this album is like so personal to her that it makes it hard to listen to and actually try to add my own kind of interpretation onto what she's singing about. So, like I said, I'm not her, so I don't really know what exactly was going on, like behind the scenes or anything like that. Jack Antonoff and Aaron Dessner came back to work on this. I think the first half of the album is very Jack Antonoff heavy. The Anthology, I think, has a couple of Jack Antonoff songs or produced songs, but most of that half is Aaron Dessner. Um, Came out to kind of mixed reviews. Let me actually pull some of the reviews up here. Just some of the review scores really quick. There were a few that were glowing, like Rolling Stone gave it like an instant classic status, which I kind of don't really agree with. I think Rolling Stone kind of just throws instant classic around way too much. But Metacritic it's at 77 on Metacritic. Looks like Clash gave it an 8 out of 10. Daily Telegraph gives it a 4 out of 5. The Guardian gave it a 4 out of 5. We have NME giving it a 3 out of 5. The Observer gives it a 4 out of 5. Pitchfork gave it a 6.6 out of 5. Rolling Stone, we said, gave it a 5 out of 5. I kind of disregard a lot of what Rolling Stone says these days because they haven't really been. Rolling Stone hasn't been great in a while. Looks like Slant gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and the Times also gave it a 5 out of 5. So there was definitely some very glowing reviews for it. And that's kind of the whole thing is music is subjective, but like even I thought some of those reviews were just a little too favorable. If they were factoring in the anthology half, I could maybe kind of get on board with that a little bit. But a lot of those reviews dropped before the anthology half was even out. So like after like an hour after it came out, like they were already like giving it like instant classic scores and things like that. So I think that was a little bit weird. But came out to mixed reviews. Like I said, Anthology is a much better album. I actually probably would have been a little happier if they just released that half instead of both halves. But like there is a huge, like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like cohesion issue with both halves. Like both halves seem very very different. So I don't know like what they're planning to do for like Grammy contention. Are they just going to like do the original album, the first half, which I think is not great, or are they going to do both halves and then have it be like a 2 hour album that the Grammy voters have to listen to that is wildly just like incohesive compared to each half. Like the first half is very like synth pop heavy. The second half is more like Folklore and Evermore, which I was hoping we would get more of that for this album. But even then, like the second half, like a lot of the songs on the Aaron Dessner, like basically half of the album, feel like very, very similar to each other. Like they don't really feel like they're like different songs. It just feels like they're continuations of like one song, and they all sound very similar, like similar to the point where it's a detriment to the album, I think. But like I said, I love Folklore. I love Evermore. I'm definitely glad that they brought Aaron Dessner back in to at least work on some of these tracks. Some of the tracks I like on the first half of the album are actually the Aaron Dessner tracks. I don't love the Jack Antonoff tracks, and I think his production on this album is just it pretty much gave me a headache the first time I listened to it. I didn't get that the second time I listened to it, probably because I was kind of tired and like had like stayed up to listen to it. But like the instrumentals on like a lot of the stuff that he produced on the first half are just really really loud to the point where it kind of almost drowns out Taylor's lyrics. So I think they needed to like just really like tone some of those instruments down. They were just a little too loud. You actually need to calm down or whatever. I was sort of sick of that. But the Aaron Dessner stuff is a little better produced. But I just think at this point, after this point, she needs to, I think, move on from Jack Antonoff and maybe even move on from Aaron Dessner and get a new producer. I don't know if that would ever happen because I feel Taylor's probably going to do what she wants. And even a lot of people's criticisms of Jack Antonoff are like that he doesn't challenge her enough or like get her out of her comfort zone. And I think maybe he at one point he tried, and it's probably just he probably just thinks it's easier just to kind of go along with it with what Taylor wants than trying to challenge her. Because I know he can produce good music and get really good work out of like singers like Lorde and Lana Del Rey. Like the Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard is an amazing album from last year. Totally think that was either that or SOS should have won the Grammy for Album of the Year. But he could definitely get good work out of other artists. I just think he's like, he probably knows that like even if he tries to push Taylor, she's probably not going to want to do it. So he kind of goes along with what she wants. And even the Aaron Dessner tracks in this album, like I mentioned earlier, they get very repetitive. So I think on whatever the next new album is, I just think we need a new producer to maybe challenge Taylor a little bit more. Um, like the one thing I didn't like about Midnight's and Lover and this one is they start sounding very similar, especially all the stuff that Jack Antonoff produces. So, but like we know he can get great work out of other artists. It's just I think Taylor like doesn't want to go out of her comfort zone necessarily. So I can kind of see him not wanting to really push back against that and just kind of go with the flow. But I think, and especially in this case, it definitely hurt the overall album with that. That said, I felt that, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, there was almost too much lore that you had to like kind of know about for this album. Like I said, this album feels like it's like a deeply personal album to her, but not a lot of the themes I think kind of translate to just general like people's like interpretations of the music. I think she could totally have done that had some of the lyrics been a little bit better and maybe not revolving around the situation that just like casual fans don't really know much about. So maybe the album is just too personal, and then it should have stayed at that. I don't really know. I'm gonna bring up some lyrics that I actually really liked because they're kind of interesting. Let me actually pull this up here. Um, and the lyrics are from "But Daddy, I Love Him," and I really do like that. In this song, she basically calls out a lot of the fans that kind of were against her hanging out with Matty Healy. Like, I don't think she necessarily should have done be doing that either. But but in the end, at the end of the day, it would have been her decision. And she kind of like the way I'm interpreting this is she is blaming the fans that were very vocal against her dating Matt Healy for basically like forcing them out of this relationship or whatever it was, or so she basically puts them on blast in this song, and I'm gonna read just a bit of the lyrics here. But it says like, this is the post-chorus to the song, and we'll probably go into some of the bridge as well. But I definitely thought these lyrics were interesting because like she actually like called out some of her more like kind of toxic fans, I guess. But it says, I'll tell you something right now. I'd rather burn my whole life down than listen to one more second of all this bitching and moaning. I'll tell you something about my good name. It's mine alone to disgrace. I don't cater to all those vipers dressed in empath's clothing. That's the pre-chorus, so like, or the post-chorus, I should say. And then we get into the bridge. It says, "God save the most." Some of this is very, very wordy, and I think I think the album is a little verbose overall. But the bridge is, "God save the most judgmental creeps who say that they want what's best for me, sanctimoniously performing soliloquies I'll never see, thinking it can change the beat of my heart when he touches me and counteract the chemistry and undo the destiny. You ain't gotta pray for me and my wild boy and all of this wild joy. If all of you want is great for me, then it's just white noise, and it's just my choice." So I definitely feel that those lyrics were definitely putting some of those fans on blast, which I think is actually pretty cool overall. Let's see. Rankings for this, I'm probably like after two listens, like I said, I don't love it. So I think I actually put it below Midnight's. It might be my least favorite album, at least for now. My top three, like our top three, like I said earlier, were Red, 1989, and Folklore. Bottom half for me is probably Lover, Midnight's, and then this, probably in that order. Or maybe Midnight's above Lover. I don't really know. Lover, I do have a few tracks that I like to go back to and listen to, like Anti-Hero, I think is really good. Lavender Haze, Maroon, stuff like that. All the stuff on the kind of bonus tracks off Midnight's is probably better than the base album. And again, with this album, I feel the Anthology is overall better than the base album as well. Now we're going to go ahead and move into our track listing on this album here. Pull this up here. We're going to do just each half separately. So first half is 16 tracks, and it's about an hour and 5 minutes. The total runtime, if you include the Anthology, is roughly like 2 hours and like 2 minutes. So definitely a long album. But track one on the Torture Poets Department is Fortnite featuring Post Malone. I thought that song was okay. It was a little bit catchy, but not great. Track 2 is the Tortured Poets Department. Didn't love that one. Track 3 is My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. Didn't love that one either. Track 4 is Down Bad, and Down Bad like kind of is like, I don't like using the term guilty pleasure, but I actually kind of really like Down Bad. Um, it's got a good beat to it, so that's one of the songs on the album that I actually do enjoy. Track 5 is So Long London. Track 6 is But Daddy I Love Him, which I actually thought was pretty good because that's the one where she's putting the fans on blast. Track 7 is Fresh Out on the Slammer. I thought that was just okay. Track 8 is Florida, which features Florence from Florence and the Machine. That one was pretty good too. Track 9 was Guilty as Sin. Didn't love that one. Track 10 is Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. Absolutely didn't like it at all. Anthony Fantano did a really great breakdown on that on Instagram, like a little short snippet of why that song just kind of doesn't work, and I kind of totally agree with it. So that was track 10. Track 11 is I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can. That was just all right. Track 12 is Lomi. It's kind of not amazing. Track 13 is I Could Do It With a Broken Heart. I thought that one was pretty good. It's kind of upbeat and like a little more up-tempo. Kind of like that one. Track 14 is The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. Track 15 is The Alchemy. And track 16 is Clara Bow. So off of the first half, I think Down Bad and But Daddy I Love Him and I Can Do It With a Broken Heart are probably my favorite tracks. Probably my least favorite track on that side is probably Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. It just feels very weird. Didn't love that one. But so that's the first half. Second half is the Anthology, which it has a couple Jack Antonoff songs, but most of this stuff is Aaron Dessner. But like I said, unfortunately with this one, it kind of falls into the trap of it feeling the tracks feel too similar to each other. Track 17 is The Black Dog. I think that one was actually really good. That's kind of the cover for the Anthology, kind of is the cover of that one with He Announced It on Her Store. Track 18 is I'm Gonna Get You Back. That's all one word. I think that was all right. Track 19 is The Albatross, which I actually think was good. Track 20 is Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. Didn't really love that one. Track 21 is How Did It End? I think that one that's a decent one. Pretty good. Track 22 is So High School, which I just thought was kind of like, just felt very juvenile. Didn't love that one. That's track 22. Track 23 is I Hate It Here. Didn't love that one either. Track 24 is Thank You Amy, which apparently is about Kim Kardashian, if you had to like look that up. But that one was just okay. Track 25 is I Look in People's Windows. Not great. Track 26 is The Prophecy, which I thought was pretty good. Track 27 is Cassandra, which I thought was just all right. Track 28 is Peter, and I like Peter because it reminded me of some of the stuff off of Folklore, like the Teenage Love Triangle kind of songs. It reminded me of that. So I really liked Peter. Peter's a good one. Track 29 is The Bolter. Track 30 is Robin. And track 31 is The Manuscript. So we have, 16 tracks on that one. And, 17 tracks on 17. Yeah, total of 31 tracks. So 31 track total. Basically, surprise double album. Like I said, I didn't love the album overall. I might need to give it time to let it kind of grow on me. A couple of the songs that I didn't like initially, like when I first listened to it, like Down Bad and So Long, or what was it? But Daddy, I Love Him. I didn't love those initially. I thought the production was a little bit off, but then when I listened to it today, like I said, I listened to it at like 10 o'clock at night when it came out, so I was probably a little bit tired. But overall, those tracks are good. The tracks I listened over there as a notable tracks are probably my favorite off the album. But overall, I feel that this is kind of like just a misstep, and hopefully with the next album we'll get something better, I think. Hopefully we just get better producers that maybe will take her out of her comfort zone if she wants to, but I feel like she might be the issue too, or maybe she's like at a comfort level where she doesn't want to be challenged, and that's kind of and that could be all on her too. It could also be just that, like I said, Jack Antonoff doesn't really want to push her because he knows kind of that she'll be resistant to whatever it is. But overall, didn't love the album. But part of this series is kind of like just like listening to new albums. Sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it takes a while for an album to actually kind of grow on you, and maybe that's what will happen here. But that's going to do it for now. We'll be back in a week from now with a completely new album. Don't know what that's going to be just yet, but we'll be back in a week. I want to thank you all for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.